Well, it looks like it's going to be the final episode of the Willem de Thouars saga, debacle, name it, whatever you want to call it. This is one that I cannot let sit because this is the issue that has affected me the most. And I've been called a criminal. Let me tell you exactly what they're calling me a criminal about. It was a long, drawn-out process. And it's unfortunate, but my ex-wife, Tamara, and my ex-teacher, Willem, tag-teamed me legally. They went to the authorities and claimed that I was a scary guy. Now, I have the transcripts of the hearing that my darling wife, her then lover, her mother, and her father all went after restraining orders against me, and they could not get them under the restraining order laws. So they had a blanket rule they called 365. And any fear that anybody might have that they might get hurt is enough for a Rule 65 restraining order. Now, it turns out that the big football player that my ex-wife was preparing to get on with her life for tried to attack me at the swimming pool, and he fell down. And he called that an assault, although he assaulted me. Now, we went to trial on that, and I was exonerated, as always. Now, Willem also says, well, he's his own lawyer and he's always losing. That is a lie also. I have never lost when I was my own lawyer. Homosexual, I guess is probably the proper term for the women that were sitting on the bench posing as judges in Jefferson County. Oh, this is a terrible story. It's just a terrible story. But anyway, it was the fear that Marcus Bernard Merritt was going to get hurt. This is what her mother said on the witness stand. This is what she said on the witness stand. Her father, Dead Bob the preacher, said, well, one time I saw him at Disneyland. He pulled a cigar out of this guy's mouth because he was blowing smoke in my daughter's face, and she was pregnant, and on and on and on and on and on he went about. I had a little confrontation with a guy. I grabbed a cigar, threw it on the ground, stomped it out. That was it. I didn't hit him, didn't touch him, didn't do none of that stuff. And I also did not beat up Marcus Merritt. But everybody was afraid that I would. So that was enough to get a restraining order. The restraining order then fell into effect when Marcus called up because I was calling my children to talk to my children. That was the whole thing. In come the SWAT team, and they dragged me off to jail. And I had an epiphany while I was there in the holding cell, and decided to run for sheriff. Now, that is probably what really absolutely pissed the Luciferian pedophiles off that were part of the Joint Domestic Terrorism Task Force. Because they broke down my door without a warrant, they hauled me off to jail without charges. The charges were ultimately dismissed by another lesbian judge there in Jefferson County. Then Gay Kleiman, the little gay guy from the State Attorney General's office, went and doctored the records and reinstituted one of the cases that was dismissed for failure of the charging instrument. They had nowhere to go. They didn't have any charges at all. So the first time that they threw me in jail was for contempt of court. The judge said, Marilyn Leonard, by the way, is also a bulldagger lesbian judge. She said, Mr. Gartin, if you mention the Constitution one more time in my courtroom, I'm going to find you in contempt of court. And I said, Your Honor, does that mean that the United States Constitution, the supreme law of the land, is not in effect in this courtroom? She said, Bailiff, take him away. 6 months, no good time. That was the first time. Well, actually, it was the second time, but the first time was when Marcus Merritt fell down and the Golden Police were there to pick him up. It was the fastest response of copsuckers you have ever seen in your life. One would almost think that maybe it was a setup. Little Catman dude. So here we go. Now this begins, oh, poor cat. This begins this whole odyssey. Now the SWAT teams are involved, and obviously, now I'm pissed off. Imagine that. I mean, this was in the beginning of my discovery that the Luciferian pedophile demons had infested every aspect of the entire government in Golden, in Jefferson County. So this began the downhill spiral that ultimately ended up with me deciding, rather than kill anybody, to just go away to the cave of Adullam and wait until Babylon the Great falls in a single hour. So on the ball goes, starts rolling. Ultimately, I decided to leave Golden and go back home to Marin County. Now, Gay and his gay lover, Don Estep, decide they want to find me. So they go hit Chaz up, and Chaz rats me off. They send a SWAT team out to my school in California, gaffle me up, take me down to Oakland. The judge, 7 days later, this was on the 13th of March, on the spring equinox, the judge says, okay, you're released, Mr. Gartin. They have no charges against you, and you can go home. So they immediately took me to Santa Rita Prison and put me in solitary confinement. And then Gay Kleiman, Don Estep, and Lonnie Locke, and it's a couple of guys, Pete, somebody, come out from Golden, put me on an airplane, took me back to Golden, where I did 13 months in the stinking jail there with no charges. No hearing, no trial, nothing. So then, ultimately, along come Doc Miller, the supposed lawyer, the Jerry Spence kind of lawyer. And that, well, it didn't work out real well. He said, it's going to take me a year just to bring you, just to come up to speed with where you're already at. And that was longer than I wanted to stay in stinking jail. So we had a plea bargain. And the charges ultimately was attempt to influence a pubic servant. Now, this is their catch-all, because an attempt to influence a pubic servant? Come on. I mean, really, what's that all about? That's a bogus charge. So anyway, I did a couple of years of probation and had the piss tests and anger management classes and all of that stuff. And during the course of that, they tried to lay some other charges on me. And it just so happened that I was working as a private investigator at the time, and I was a paralegal for Doc Miller, and that just fell on its face. They had to dismiss those charges as well. Then, coming up to the end of probation, Doc Miller comes to me and says, well, I think Gay and the people down at the State Attorney General's office would feel much better if you forgive them. And I said, well, Doc, I have forgiven them. They don't know what they're doing. They have no idea. They have no clue. They're just doing what they think, needs to be done. So in the meanwhile, here's Willem out there making this video that you've already seen about, what a racist and how, he's being accused of teaching me how to defeat cops and all this stuff. And the cops are scared. I did go down and demonstrate to them that what they were saying about dumb N-word, bring a knife to a gunfight was goofy. I demonstrated that with what they called alacrity. They said he has demonstrated skills. Well, okay, so they were afraid. Everybody was afraid. Willem was afraid. They're all afraid that I'm going to ninja up on them and slice their throat in the middle of the night or something. I don't know what sort of things they imagined in their mind, but it wasn't in my mind. No, I'm not even going to say that. So ultimately, Doc Miller decided to unilaterally, without any input from me, file a motion of forgiveness, where I was going to forgive all of these copsuckers, all of these little metrosexual queers. These are the guys that butt raped Klebold. Or Harris, one of the Columbine murderers, and it wasn't the children that murdered people there, it was the SWATsies. And a lot of you know that already. But nonetheless, he filed this motion without my permission, I knew that he was going to do it, yes, but he never showed it to me. And they claimed, well, he had an epiphany because I ended up suing him because he had refused to pay me. I brought him about $150,000 worth of business the first year that I worked for him, and he was supposed to pay me a 10% finder's fee on that, which he did not do, so I sued him. And then he suddenly had an epiphany that, he had lied on this motion of forgiveness. And then he went to Marlene at the Snake Attorney General's office and said, I lied, but he made me do it because he's such a scary guy. And I was so afraid. Okay, well, here is the whole felony forgiveness rap. Now, once again, felony forgiveness, they're going to charge me for what that lawyer did. Now, look at these crimes they're charging me with now. Attempt to influence a pubic servant again. This is the second time they pulled this crap. And what are you going to do? What I decided to do ultimately. Now, this is not the extent of the jail time that I've done. As a political prisoner, they have never convicted me of anything in a proper court and a proper jury, and me as my own attorney. They have never done that. They have always had to trick me into getting an attorney so I could get discovery. They weren't going to give me any discovery so that I would know what charges were against me. They played every stinking game in the book against me, and none of them worked. So anyway, there is the crime. I was contemptuous of the court, and hey, if that's a crime, guilty. Just call me guilty because I am in contempt of their kangaroo courts. But that is not a crime. These are not real judges. These are not real law enforcement professionals. Now, I know that there's good cops out there. I call them cops because that is citizens on patrol. There's good people out there that honor their constitutional oaths. There are some. Now, unfortunately, in Jefferson County, Colorado, it's infested with a ring of pedophiles posing as police. And it's a crime. There is the crime. The crime is the metrosexual lesbians and queers sitting on the benches, angry with people like me, just because I like women. Come on. Just because I know what my rights are, Just because I've studied the Constitution and I've studied law, they're mad at me. Well, okay, hey, no problem, no problem. I just ain't gonna play those games anymore. I'm gonna run for sheriff again, and I'm gonna change things. Because now is the time. The things that people used to tell me in secret, now you see every day on Alex Jones. If you're not watching Alex Jones, you're a fool. You better get hip about who is doing what and why. Because it ain't what you think. We don't live in Kansas anymore, sweethearts. We just don't. The world has changed on us. And I am the poster child for the outlaw of martial arts. That's what they were trying to do all along. And they were just using Willem, they were using my ex-wife as patsies, as somebody to complain. Oh, Willem's losing weight. You know, the 30 years that I knew him, he was always saying, when you say, hey, Willem, how are you? Oh, skinny and still breathing. That man has never lost an ounce in his whole life. He's always been skinny. And oh, he's so distressed and he's so worried. And oh, come on, these are all legal terms on this Rule 65. Any kind of mental distress at all, and they can lock you up and send you away. Now, come on, is that crime? Is that crime? I want somebody, if there are any charges against me, real charges, I want to hear about it. And I'm going to take it to the court of public opinion. That's where I'm taking it. Because you people are illegitimate. You are corporate courts. You are corporate police. You have nothing to do with this nation, with the United States of America, the Republic for the United States of America. You have nothing to do with that. You're a bunch of corporate fictions, and I, for one, am not under your thumb anymore, nor will I ever be again. Yeshua is my king. The state is not. I will not kowtow to the state. You can call me a criminal if you want, but that's okay. I don't care. I'm not going to play your games anymore. I've already done that, and the affidavits still stand. I filed affidavit after affidavit in regard to all of this stuff. It's all at felonyforgiveness.com. None of my filings have ever been refuted. Never once has any one of you criminals proven your position. Never once. Nothing but tricks and smoke and mirrors. That's all you have. And all you have is what you think is overwhelming force. But you're wrong about that too. So I'm not going to put up with this criminal crap. Willem is a criminal. Here's a man who uses and abuses his students, takes money from them to buy pussy, to pay off his wife's gambling debts. Now that is a criminal, not me. Not me. Yeah, I'm a little bit outspoken. Yes, I am exposing the Luciferian cabal that runs all of the governments of the world. Yes. If that's my crime, hey, then I'm guilty of that. You betcha I am. But for the rest of this, I ain't no criminal, people. And you'll find out. Go to www.felonyforgiveness.com. Go to docslaw, D-O-C-S law.com. Go to vindictive prosecution. Go to jointterrorismtaskforce.com. Go to stevegartin.com. I mean, it's all out there. I have put every transcript from every trial, from every case, all online for everybody to see. So cut the crap. And bless you, you people who really want to know the truth. So this marks the end of the Willem drama. This is round 6 and he's out. Unless something more important comes up, this is the end of this subject. I will, however, continue to speak out about the legal situation. That is part and parcel of the restoration of the great American Republic. And that we're going to talk about.